As promised, I'm going to show you how this application can upload a CSV file to the database and then insert those entries again into the red black file system, then serve that red black file system of uploads, not the actual data. That just gets stored in the database in this history pane. So as you can see, this test file that I'm about to upload is not currently in the history pane. And also I want to show you that the entries and videos table, which is where the actual CSV data from the CSV records go, are empty as well because we haven't uploaded the CSV file yet. But this uploads table, since it's seeded from the beginning, it's pre-seeded, has our seed records, but not our upload records, which is actually created from parts of the CSV file when it gets uploaded. But the CSV file, I'll show you the kind of data that it has. It's a little bit different than this. This is just keeping track of data about the file itself. Kind of like what you'd see in like your operating system file folders. Okay, so we're going to upload it. And you'll see right away the test file that we uploaded is in our history pane. Let's take a look at our database. So the data from the CSV file ends up in two different tables, even though it's just the CSV file itself just looks like one table. You'll see here in the entries there's some data about the videos in the records. It's a table about videos, but the title, the release year, the channel, you'll see are missing, and that's because I have a separate table for that, and then it's joined to the entries table with this foreign key video ID. I had to separate them when I inserted the CSV parsed records into the database. I'll show you how I did that in a minute. But the entry point for the CSV file is this CSV data controller class that is mapped to a post route. It gets posted or sent from that form. The CSV upload method is what takes the multi-part file that gets uploaded as an argument and then does some validation before, in a series of try-catch blocks, running these methods: CSV service, upload service, and RBT service. And it's those methods that parse it, get it in the database, then insert it into that red-black tree that I showed you last video. And then from that red-black tree, they are put on a GET request route so that a GET request can request the records through JSON, and then they can be displayed in that pane. So I'll show you the CSV service first. This is what parses the CSV file and then uses entry repository and video repository, which are the repositories in control of my entries and videos tables, to put it in the database. I want to show you this video repository find by title method. This is just a JPA repository method, and so is this or else get method. But when you chain those two together, you can get a collection of all of the entries in the video repository right here that happen to have the title that you parsed out of your CSV file. And if it's not there, which means that the CSV file has a new video title that's not in your database, this or else get method will run this function that it takes as an argument. And so I have this function creating a new video object for the video repository to save. And so that's how I get a new video record in the database if it doesn't exist already. If it did exist, though, we could give it a foreign key that was already in the database. So the rest of the parse CSV file record data gets put in this entry object, and then that entry object gets put in this entries collection, so I can use save all, and I use the entry repository instance I created to put all the entries that I parsed into the entry table. So going back, I have this upload service. That's what actually creates that, I guess you could call it like a string that you see in the history pane. But it takes the file that got uploaded as an argument and kind of parses it the same way that the CSV records got parsed into one of those upload repository uploads right here. But that really just comes from the file and data that's generated when it gets uploaded, like the timestamp and the size of the file, which actually comes from the multi-part file object. I want to show you something that I did. You'll see that I had this RBT service populate file system method, and I showed you that in the last video too. That's what actually gets the records out of the database and puts them in that red-black file system. I kind of separated the population of the file system and then the creation of the upload list that gets sent to that GET route that a GET request can access via JSON. And I did that for two reasons. First, for complexity's sake. Like, to me, it didn't make a whole lot of sense to have to go and repopulate the red-black tree from the database every time you wanted to sort it. If I had the functionality like in one method, you'd have to grab all the data from the database and then retraverse them every time, instead of just load the data into the tree first and then run a traversal to get the collection in the order you want whenever you clicked that button that lets you switch the order up. The second reason is that it allows you to preserve the sorting order. So I'll show you. Well, I'll just upload another one, the same thing, but here I'll even have it sorted the other way, and then I'll upload it. Let's see, and it still is sorted the same way. And if I had them together, it would, every time that you added a new entry into the database, then you would have to add all the database entries back into the file system. You wouldn't be able to switch. You wouldn't be able to, the variable that gets changed, it wouldn't be the same. So it was mostly for mostly for complexity's sake, though. I didn't really think it made sense to have to grab data from the database just to sort the data. Okay. So the last thing that I want to go over is how I was able to get a new red-black file tree, or how I was able to get a new set of records without just like adding to the file tree. I mean, it was pretty clear what you had to do. You would have to clear all the records out. You'd have to clear all the nodes out of the red-black file tree before you're going to replace them with new ones, including the new entries in the database. And right here, I'll show you the method that actually does that. And I call it right here, clear file system, right before all the records go in. You know, that way you don't have like double nodes in your like repetitive nodes in your red-black file tree. But all it does, it traverses the file tree the same way as the in order and the reverse methods do, but instead of updating like an upload list collection, it just it gets rid of the nodes, and it takes advantage of the Java runtime to do that. All it really does is it clears the left and right children of each node, and then once the pointers to the left and right children are gone, which is all it's clearing, the Java garbage collection will get rid of the node. So it kind of does two steps in one, if you will. If you used another language like maybe C++, you'd have the extra step of actually having to delete the node. But in Java, you just get rid of the pointer, and then the node is clear, and then you can have a completely fresh red-black tree that you can add all your new nodes to. I want to show you too, in this red-black file system, this rebalance method that I talked about before, that makes sure that the red-black tree is always updating to have the correct properties of a red-black tree. That's what is assigning the parents and children of all the nodes. And that's why you couldn't just keep adding and adding and adding entries, because you're just going to get an unlimited list of nodes, and they would just keep on repeating. Another idea that I had was to create a new file system instance inside of the populate file system method, so that every time you ran it, you'd be creating a new object. But the problem with that is that like the upload list service needs those methods too. And so I needed them outside of the method scope. I needed them in the class scope, which I have because I auto-wire class, but I didn't want them in method scope. Otherwise, I would have just done that. I could have just kept on creating new file system objects as I needed to refresh them. Okay, well, those are all of the features that I've added to my architect assignment. So thanks for staying with me through that.